Hey Jim, I saw your videos of your travels through Alabama and Mississippi, and I just got back into town from Mississippi, and as a matter of fact, the day that you did that video on Hazelhurst and Brookhaven, I was there, down there, and but anyway, I wanted to do a little commentary on that, because when you turned on the camera in downtown Brookhaven, you were standing on one side of the tracks, and you were standing in front of a building that when I was a kid, it was just an old building, nothing in there really, and a guy that named Max Thornhill and some of his investors turned that into a bank, and I think they sold that several years later. I think it's attorney offices now or something. Anyway, when you pointed at that log cabin that was right across the railroad tracks, that log cabin was owned by a Smith family, and it was built in 1825 and actually moved there in the last, since I've left Brookhaven. But behind that, on the other side of that log cabin there, you can see kind of a red brick building, old red brick building sticking up. That was, when I was a kid, that was City Hall, and it was also the library that was in there somewhere. I remember my mom making me sit outside and wait. And if you went around the left-hand side toward the back was the fire station, and I used to, of course that was the important part to me, and of course firemen, I guess, they do a lot of camping out waiting for something to happen. One of the guys that was a fireman there, he fixed outboard motors, and I remember getting to go in the fire station, and then out back on the other side, the guy had like a 55-gallon drum, and he could put your outboard motor in it, and crank it, and and work on that. But anyway, what else? You pointed at the depot, the train depot, and made speculation that might still be a working thing, but Amtrak still works, it still stops in Brookhaven on its way to and from, I guess, New Orleans. And when I was a kid, that was the city of New Orleans train, like Arlo Guthrie sang about. And I don't know if you remember seeing the video where I talked to Billy about, I was alive for that, and I said something about seeing all the black people over here on this, in this building, and white people over there. That was where that conversation took place, because on one end there was the black folks, and over here was the white folks. If you had gone on down, and it looked like you were crossing the railroad tracks or waiting for the train to cross the railroad tracks on Monticello Street, which is actually old 84 Highway, and I guess we call it Monticello Street because if you went out 84 Highway, it went to Monticello. And talking about Monticello, there was when I was a kid, there was somebody on the news, and they were referring to Monticello, and they said Monticello. And I just laughed. I thought that was so funny, because that guy didn't even know how to say Monticello, and my mom said, well, son, that's actually how you say Monticello, and we just say Monticello instead of Monticello. And anyway, if you'd have gone that way, on the left-hand side, and you may have noticed the tallest building in town on down that way is the new art school. Well, it sits on the campus of Whitworth College, which for years and years just sat in decay, but that was actually one of the first colleges in the United States to actually offer women's degrees. And during the Civil War, that also was, I can't say all the buildings, but that was a Civil War hospital. So there's a lot of history there, If you had gone out and gone down 51 Highway to Summit, which I think was your next stop, but I noticed you were taking video out on the interstate, but if you'd gone down 51 Highway to get to Summit, you would have passed right by where I was, because my folks live a mile from, exactly a mile, from the last red light in Brookhaven on 51 Highway South. And to your right on there, it's closed down now, but it was a hardware building supply thing. That used to be the old Coke bottling plant. And when I was a kid, they had the conveyors and stuff set up right there in the front window where you could watch the little bottles of Coke come down the conveyor, and they'd put the caps on and all that stuff. Summit, I've been to Summit, or through Summit, because that used to be, 51 Highway was the main road going north and south. So if you were going south, you had to do it on 51. If you were going to Jackson, you had to do it on 51. And then Mcomb, I decided when I was a little kid that I didn't like Mcomb. And the reason why is my aunt and uncle that we went to see pretty often lived in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, which is the strawberry capital of the world, so they say, and which is right next to Hammond on I-10. You probably know that area if you venture down there. But on our way down there sometimes, my mom would make Dad stop at a store in Mcomb, which was like a factory outlet store, and she could get ladies' underwear or whatever. I don't know what she bought in there. But we always had to sit in the car. And it was murder, because here I'm a little kid. I'm ready to go see my Aunt Edie. And here I have to sit out in the car in Mcomb, Mississippi, waiting for her. Backing up, when you were in Hazelhurst, met my wife in Hazelhurst. I was running the Pizza Hut out there, which is not in the downtown area, obviously. But that old town square there, where you went through and turned around, and then you took a right and went down that little street, that little brick street, and made the comment that, there was not a whole lot there. That's because of Walmart, because when Walmart came and moved out there by the interstate, that's where the business went, and it just kind of killed downtown. When I was first married, there was this big deal, the KKK, which is an embarrassment to white people, and even back then in 81, 2, something like that, they don't have any power. They're just a bunch of idiots making white people look bad. But they were going to have this big rally, and they were going to have, 2,000 KKKers come through there, and there's a lot of black people in Hazelhurst. Well, there's a lot of black folks in Mississippi, but the cops and all, it was a big deal, and the cops were, asking the black community to stay at home or stay away from downtown, to kind of, we don't want any trouble, we'll just let them do their little march and go on. Well, I forgot all about that, and I think it was on a Saturday, and I took Shay downtown to a shoe store because she was looking for shoes, and that was before I had enough sense to not go shopping for shoes with my wife. But anyway, we were down there, and then somebody said, okay, here comes the KKK march, and I go, oh no, there's trouble, It turned out to be about 4 or 5 adults in sheets, you know the drill, and then they had drugged their kids with them, maybe 8 kids, so altogether there might have been 10 to 15 people, and here they come with the 1 or 2 little signs and all that. So that was the big scary KKK rally of 81, or I guess 82, in Hazelhurst, Mississippi, on that very street. A lot of history down there, and I really enjoyed it when I was down there. And I guess I wasn't down there for fun this time, but I was down there the same days you were. And that day of rain, the first, it rained. I guess it started raining Wednesday night, and it rained all day. So if you didn't take that video that day, or you may have done it a while back, I don't know, but that's when you posted it. Was around that time, the first, and we were down there, and I'd love to know you were around. I'd love to shake your hand, but I just thought I'd let you know a little bit about what you were looking at, and talk to you later, man.